And make me a co-host too then.
Okay.
Okay, here, I will make you the host.
So, and then Christopher, I will probably make you the host. So
Oh,
is only the host can let people in? Sorry,
oh,
everyone.
any of the co-hosts should be able to.
Okay, for some reason, it's like I didn't see the, hello, everyone. We are getting ready to, are you seeing those? Being able to let people, okay, because I felt like I didn't see them until I became host. Mia's here. Thank you, Mia. We are going to do the always dicey thing of trying to go onto Facebook. And then we will get started. I apologize for the delay. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening for this very important discussion. Before we start in, my name is Lisa Reynolds. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a state representative in Oregon. And before we start in on the program, I would like to introduce my friend, Joshua Freidlein, who is in the master's program of forestry at Yale University. After spending his whole life in Oregon, or at least much of his life in Oregon, studying transboundary forest management and the land back movement. Joshua is an enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation. He's an Everytown Survivor Fellow, having survived the mass shooting at Umpqua Community College. He is joining us today to provide a land acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Osio Ginali, Joshua Freidlein, Dagodoa, Jijalagi. Hello, friends. My name is Joshua Freidlein. I'm Cherokee. I'm coming to you from Lenape-Hoking, the traditional homelands of the Lenape people, and we in the U.S. Colonial Project know Lenape-Hoking as Manhattan. Before this event begins, I've been asked to get acknowledgement. And I've been asked to acknowledge that the land that we occupy as residents is unceded Indigenous land. The Portland metro area occupies land belonging to the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, bands of the Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Malala, and many other nations who lived on and cared for this land and continue to do so to this day. They were violently displaced by a systemic settler colonial project. In addition to these nations, there are many others who in community with this land that have been erased by that same relentless and inexorable project, which swept across the continent with only the goal of land possession. When treaties were made between nations and the United States, they were later broken. When nations resisted, they were violently subjugated and massacred. The concept of blood quantums was instituted to quantify the reduction of native blood and accomplish assimilation. Boarding schools were created to steal children and kill the Indian but save the man. This history has not been sufficiently taught, but it is our history and we cannot evade our complicity in it. But it's not enough to acknowledge the contributions of those nations in shaping our state and country. Acknowledgements without action fall flat. When land acknowledgements exist alone, without further thoughts, actions, or commitments to tribal support and land rematriation, they become only an insipid form of liberal virtue signaling that accomplishes nothing. I'm so grateful to see all of you here and that you all have dedicated your time and passion to this topic, but I challenge all of you to expand your understanding of past wrongs and the ways in which they reverberate into the present and commit to being effective and solid allies to tribal nations wherever you may find yourselves. Wodo.
Thank you very much, Joshua. I'm very grateful for your time today and for setting an important tone for this evening's discussion. Um, as I mentioned, my name is Lisa Reynolds. I'm a mom and I'm a pediatrician, and I'm a mom. I'm a volunteer with Moms Demand Action. I'm a state representative and I'm running for reelection. And the primary is just 6 days away, but who's counting? I've been an activist on gun violence prevention for years, finally coming to the fight after the Umpqua Community College shooting, joining Moms in 2015. And the people I met there and the processes I learned directly led to my election victory as an Oregon State Representative. And we'll be hearing from several folks today. First, I've asked Peren Tiemann, and I realize I didn't exactly ask how you pronounce your last name, to say a few words. Peren started a Students Demand Action chapter at Lake Ridge High School in Lake Oswego, Oregon, back in 2019. And she has served on the National Advisory Board for Students Demand Action from 2019 to 2021. She's a senior in high school, will be moving soon to Ohio, where she'll be continuing her gun violence prevention as a student at Miami University. Peren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lisa. So following the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018, I was scared by the realities of our country. And at the age of 13, I joined Students Demand Action to prevent more tragedies, especially to keep other students safe in our schools and our communities. I'm proud to have started the first Students Demand Action chapter in the state of Oregon, and I'm eternally grateful that a movement like this existed so that people like me could get involved and have a voice in stopping the crisis of gun violence. And on that note, Shannon Watts is the reason that I'm able to have made that impact. She founded Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, the nation's largest grassroots group fighting against gun violence, which has chapters in every state affecting change at the local, state, and national level. She continues to fight for change and inspire others daily through her incredible work, including her book, Fight Like a Mother, which was released in May of 2019. Shannon's is a very powerful voice, and I'm thrilled to welcome her tonight. Thank you for joining us, Shannon.
Oh, thank you so much, Peren. You have a very powerful voice too. Thank you for that introduction. And it is an honor to be with all of you tonight. Mia, Representative Reynolds, Attorney General Rosenblum. This is kind of a heavy moment in the nation right now. What is keeping me going are my fellow Moms Demand Action and Students Demand Action volunteers. Peren, I'm so encouraged by you and how your generation and Mia, you're standing up. It really took me until my early 40s to become an activist, and I'm a mom of 5, all grown children now, and it really it pains me to think about the ways that our kids, their kids, they face the threat of gun violence every single day, and just in the last 2 weeks, a study was released and it showed that gun violence is now the leading cause of death for children and teens in this country. Dr. Reynolds came to this work with a perspective of a pediatrician. We are so fortunate to have her fighting for us in the State House in Oregon and bringing her medical training and her experience and also working with children to this fight, to the fight for gun safety. And Lisa, you did not skip a beat moving from advocate to lawmaker. You worked with other Moms Demand Action volunteers in the State House that were elected to pass the first gun safety legislation in Oregon in over 3 years. And I know that you and the Attorney General are really laser focused on this rising threat in this country of ghost guns. These are untraceable homemade firearms. They're pouring into our communities. They're showing up at more and more crime scenes. And the horrific violence that results has been enabled by the companies that make these ghost guns, that make the kits and the parts. And they really care more about flooding the market with their products and making a profit than they do keeping guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. And that includes domestic abusers and white supremacists and terrorists and even children. So thank you, Lisa, and the Attorney General for your work on focusing on treating ghost guns as the dangerous firearms they are. We look forward to working with you even more on this. And that brings me to the next guest. It is really an honor to introduce Mia Tretta. Mia, I had the pleasure of meeting and seeing you at the White House just a few weeks ago. She's a 17-year-old wounded survivor of the 2019 ghost gun mass shooting at Saugus High School. And she is a passionate gun violence prevention advocate with Students Demand Action. We have all been so impressed by how she has channeled her grief into change and really fitting advocacy into what is the very busy life of a high school student. So Mia, thank you for joining us tonight. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Shannon. All the hard work that you do is so inspirational, especially to young girls like myself. Thank you for all the work that you do in the movement. Peren, again, thank you for all the work you do, especially for survivors like me. It's people like you who didn't need something to force them into the cause. Like she said, my name is Mia Tretta. I'm a 17-year-old junior at Saugus High School in Southern California. On November 14th, 2019, I was a freshman. I was a carefree kid with the hope of being a trauma surgeon one day in the future. I was hanging out with my friends in the quad of my high school before class. We were nervous for the big Spanish test later that day, but really excited for the Sadie Hawkins dance that weekend. Suddenly, our talking and laughing was interrupted by a large bang. Another bang came and I was on the ground. Fortunately, I was able to get up and run away to my Spanish classroom. From there, I was ambulanced to a nearby park and airlifted from there to Holy Cross Hospital. There I learned I was not only shot in the lower abdomen, but my best friend, Dominic Blackwell, who was standing next to me, was shot and killed, along with another girl, Gracie Muehlberger. Dominic was 14. He had an infectious laugh and it lit up every room he went into. After many days in the hospital, I was released, and I found out I was shot with a ghost gun. To be honest, I had no idea what that was. Unfortunately, now I do. There are a loophole in our system, untraceable, build-it-yourself firearms that don't require a background check, only a credit card number. Anyone can purchase them and use them however they want. With the help of Everytown for Gun Safety, I advocated against ghost guns, and change was made. It started with San Francisco, then San Jose. Now, just recently, I went to the White House where I spoke and introduced President Biden. There, he introduced his ban of ghost guns, which is a huge step in the right direction. Now, we can't go back. We have a gun sense administration, and we need all lawmakers to agree with how important gun violence prevention work is. Ghost guns need to be prohibited at all levels, state and federal. Universal background checks are essential. Safe storage saves lives. Not having gun sense candidates is a disservice to our country. We need people who understand that kids' lives should be more important than guns. Vote Dr. Lisa Reynolds and vote all gun sense candidates. That's what our country needs. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Oh, Mia, I followed you the first time I heard you speak, and it was very hard to compose myself. And it is again. I want to ask all of us right now to unmute ourselves and take a moment to honor Mia and Dominic and Gracie by just saying their names together. Maybe you want to put your hands on your heart to send Mia some love. But let's just unmute ourselves and say those three names, Dominic, Gracie, and Mia together. Dominic.
Gracie.
Gracie.
Mia.
Mia. We are so inspired and taught by you. You and Peren are our teachers. Like Shannon said, most of us come to this late. Thank you. Thank you. Now I get the privilege of introducing myself so that I can introduce all of us to this incredible person who gathered us today. My name is Doreen Dodgen-McGee. I am a psychologist. I am a senior survivor fellow for Everytown for Gun Safety, which is a role that is crucial to who I am as a person and is a role that I would not have were it not for Lisa and of course for Shannon. Lisa brought me to the work of gun violence prevention and brought me into the Moms Demand Action fold. She's dedicated. She's a tenacious legislator that's willing to do the hard thing over and over and over again. She does not shy away from difficulty, from hard work, and she is excited and passionate about meeting and knowing her neighbors. I have never met a person who is so excited about knocking on doors and making phone calls. In fact, in her first campaign, when COVID hit and she was not able to knock on doors, she turned that interest in knowing the people that she would serve into making calls as a physician to see if there was anything she could do to connect people to COVID resources. And this just speaks to who she is. Shannon already spoke about some of her important work in Salem, where she has passed legislation around safe storage, made it so that there cannot be guns in the Capitol and on school grounds. And this session, she is dedicating herself, to make sure that ghost guns are not available here. She has also done incredible work around championing the work of community violence interruption, which is a known proven strategy in reducing gun violence. So what is truly important about Lisa, you're about to hear, but I also want you to know that she is just dedicated beyond even what she can express in this Zoom call. So Lisa, thank you for gathering us for so many important causes and so many important things. And thank you for the leadership you have provided and will provide in the upcoming session.
Thank you, Doreen. That was too much. Sorry. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to gather you all together for such an important reason. I need just a minute to take a breath. Thank you so much, Mia, for sharing your story. Mia and I haven't had a chance to meet yet. And although I've heard Mia's story in news clips, to hear her tell it is obviously incredibly powerful. And thank you for lending your voice to this cause. And thank you for lending your voice for my campaign tonight. I've already touched on the moms community. We see a lot of familiar shirts, and even I see a lot of moms friends who aren't in t-shirts, and that's fine too. Of course, I'm kind of teasing. I really think the moms community and the moms curriculum, for lack of a better word, really has helped make me who I am, as a legislator, but even my growth as a human. And of course, Shannon, who had to step off, really honored to have her join us tonight. And through moms, I learned there's this incredible sisterhood that forms, and some brothers that forms, when you're fighting together for what's right. And that it's important to show up for those who are suffering or who have suffered. And that political organizing takes hard work and commitment, but it really works. And that is pretty amazing. And here's the thing. Look, it is, as Shannon alluded to, it's been a tough time, right? Just this week, we found that 2020 was the highest number of gun deaths since we've been recording such things, which we haven't been recording them for as long as we should have. 45,000 people lost their lives to gun violence in 2020, and people, it's first year of the pandemic. We know why, right? People do talk about the difficulty of the pandemic and the struggles. And, as Doreen said, I got on the phone really early in lockdown and understood what people were dealing with. But the biggest reason why gun deaths rose so much is because gun sales just soared in those first 6 to 12 months of the pandemic. There are 15 million more guns kind of in circulation because of that spike in gun sales in the beginning of the pandemic. The sales have actually come down, but those 15 million guns are still there. This is really the reason. More guns means more death, right? And as Shannon also mentioned, guns are the #1 killer. They just recently surpassed motor vehicle deaths. #1 killer of children ages 1 through 24, children and youth. And we know why this is so. It's in large part because there's an uptick in gun violence. And also, I might add, as Christopher actually pointed out to me last week, there's an uptick in in youth being the perpetrators of gun violence, in murderers with guns. But there's also been a decline in motor vehicle accidents because the country made it a priority. Let's build a whole agency, which is, I can't remember the name, motor vehicle, blah, 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 national transportation, something like that, and we instituted seatbelts and airbags and backup cameras and graduated licenses for adolescents. And it worked. Motor vehicle deaths have declined quite a bit. And that's one reason why gun deaths have now surpassed motor vehicle deaths. We have not brought that same energy and focus to lowering deaths from gun violence. And it's way past time. And I will say there are times I feel like I do feel a little hopeless. It feels like we are so awash in guns right now. We talked about 15 million more. Thank you, Christopher. We're not going to be able to policy our way out of it, which is why I'm really proud of the pivot we've made. The yes and, right? We will be working on policy, and the Attorney General will be talking about that in a minute. But we're also working with full support of the Attorney General on really funding community violence intervention programs that really will give hopefully people the tools, the training, the jobs, the opportunities to prevent them from ever being tempted to pick up a gun in the first place. And these are interventions that work. So the legislature in March devoted $15 million to this effort. It'll be going through the Attorney General's office to provide grants to some incredible programs here in Oregon that Doreen's putting in the chat. Word is Bond, which helps train Black youth. Hospital-based interventions where you pair a victim of violence with a community worker who stays by your side for 6 to 18 months to prevent you from perpetrating that cycle of violence. These are things that work, and Oregon is funding them. And that will also be a focus, I think, of the gun violence prevention work going forward in Oregon and across the country. And that's long overdue, but it's exciting. There are simple things like, greening a broken down, abandoned lot lowers gun violence in that community, beautifying the community, building a better tree canopy, things, all the win-wins. I do want to take a moment to just celebrate what a couple of us have already celebrated. 2021 was an amazing session when it came to gun violence prevention. And I will give Rachel Pruzak huge accolades for this. She really spearheaded Senate Bill 5554B, also called the Cindy Yulee and Steve Forsyth Act. Those are two people who were shot and killed at the Clackamas Town Center shooting. This requires that guns are locked when not in use. And this is something I certainly, and many people on this call, have been working on for years. So to be there when that passed in the legislature was very powerful. It also bans guns from the Capitol, and it'll make our future advocacy days when we're in person feel a little more comfortable. And it also allows school districts to prohibit guns on their campuses. And that last one, most everyone I tell this to, besides moms, are like, wait a minute, that was not already a thing. No, it wasn't. And Hillary, correct me if I'm wrong, we're up to 6 school districts in Oregon who have prohibited guns from their campuses. Am I right on that? Okay, she'll put it in the chat. It looked like, I think that's what that meant. Thank you, Hillary, sorry. And going, so this is work that's been incredibly meaningful. And I've shared with a lot of you we were on a text string together as that vote was happening on the floor of the Oregon House. You are all definitely with me through all of this. And here's what's next. So in 2023, we will continue to work on more programs for these upstream services of community violence intervention. But we're also going to work on 2 issues where we completely evade the background check system, and that is ghost guns and closing the Charleston loophole. Without further ado, to give us a true to give us some background on ghost guns, I would like to introduce Oregon's Attorney General and incredible advocate for so many things. I think we have to mention she's been a particularly strong advocate for women's right to choose, for body autonomy. But Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum is in her third term as our lucky state of Oregon Attorney General. She previously served as a prosecutor and a state trial and appellate judge. She's a fierce advocate for reproductive rights, gun violence prevention, and civil rights. She has been a thorn when that other guy was in office. She was definitely quite a thorn in the side of the previous president, Donald Trump. And we are so grateful to have your advocacy and then your leadership on ghost guns. So I would like to turn the floor over to our fine Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I love being described as a thorn. That is a badge of honor that I will wear proudly. It is also just an incredible honor to be here tonight to support Dr. Lisa Reynolds and to support this just incredibly important work that we are trying to do and are doing well, but have so much more to do. And so I'm happy to be here. I was asked to specifically talk about ghost guns, which have been discussed already tonight a bit, both by Shannon and by Mia. And Mia, my heart just goes out to you and those that were lost in your school. I want to show you a picture. I think you'll be able to see it. I don't know if you all can see what that is, but that is a picture of a massive ghost gun manufacturing operation that was discovered right here in Oregon, in Salem, a couple of months ago. And what it does is it really just reflects the growing availability of these untraceable, undetectable firearms. Fortunately, the individual who had all those, a lot of these are parts that still hadn't all been assembled. There were like 3 completed ghost guns, but the others were going to be completed. And that individual was arrested and is being prosecuted. So we all know that this represents a growing danger, not only here in Oregon, but throughout the country. And thankfully, we have wonderful state representatives, such as Representative Reynolds, senators, in particular, Senator James Manning, who supported and actually sponsored the bill in this last session. I've been starting to say 4th time as a charm, Lisa, because it will be the 4th time, but it's going to be a charm. We are going to get this past the finish line this time, but also thanks to our president, President Biden, because I'm going to talk a little bit about first what are ghost guns, that's been discussed a little bit, what's happening at the federal level, and then of course, what we still need to do here in Oregon, because as it will become clear, the federal law is a great thing, but it is not enough for to ensure the safety of Oregonians. So first of all, just as a reminder, ghost guns are unserialized, meaning they have no serial number, and untraceable. They can't be traced firearms, and they can be bought online, and they can be assembled at home. And they can be assembled pretty easily and pretty quickly. You can be kind of not even that much of a DIY type, and you can make these guns. And they can also be manufactured at home or elsewhere on a 3D printer. So some people think that ghost guns are just these plastic 3D printed guns. Ghost guns are guns, metal guns, bought through these kits and bought and made through these kits, but they also can be these plastic 3D guns, which are even worse in the respect that they cannot be detected. So in addition to being unserialized and untraceable, undetectable in a metal detector. So as I said, most often ghost guns are sold through these kits. They include all the parts and often the equipment necessary to build. They're widely available. They can be purchased by anyone, including, of course, prohibited purchasers, domestic abusers, gun traffickers, no background check. And as they are sold at gun shows and online every day throughout the country, they undermine all of the life-saving policies that we've fought so hard to put in place. And they also impede the ability of law enforcement to trace firearms when they're used to commit crimes. So they're designed to avoid gun laws. They're untraceable and unserialized. They are and or undetectable, and they're available to buy without a background check. So what is the federal government doing? On April 11th of this year, and this is what Mia was referring to, and that's just so cool that she got to introduce the president when he made this announcement. The federal administration, through the federal agency that regulates guns called ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and I think they even sometimes put an E there for explosives, submitted what's called a frame or receiver final rule to the Federal Register. And this is the long-awaited update to ATF rules that will close the loophole, allowing the sale of unfinished frames or receivers, or quote, buy, build, shoot DIY gun kits. Now, the federal rule does that by clarifying that these kits, for the first time, qualify as firearms. They weren't even considered firearms under the Gun Control Act, and that commercial manufacturers of these kits must therefore become licensed and include serial numbers on the kit's frame or receiver. And commercial sellers of these kits must become federally licensed, and they must run background checks prior to a sale, just like they have to do with other commercially made firearms. Okay, so far so good, right? The federal rule only regulates federal firearm license holders, which are known as FFLs. And these are the people engaged in the manufacture, importation, sale, and dealing of firearms. So from now on, these FFLs will have to treat these kit firearms the same as other firearms, subjecting the manufacture, import, and sale to all the same requirements as a regular gun. And they will have to ensure that all these weapons are serialized, sold, and transferred through the legal background check processes and adhere to all the paperwork and record keeping requirements. And the final rule also requires any FFL who comes into possession of an unserialized firearm or a 3D printed gun without a serial number to have that weapon serialized. So that's a great addition to that new rule. And the federal rule goes into effect on August 24th. So it's not in effect yet. And of course, lawsuits can be brought, and there can be objections still to that rule. So that's the federal piece, and it's mostly really great news. So what do we need to do in Oregon in response? And what will I be working on along with Representative Reynolds and other supportive legislators? Well, even though the federal government's doing its part to regulate the manufacture, import, and sale of unserialized firearms by FFLs, strong state regulation is needed. We have to pass comprehensive ghost gun legislation in 2023. And we're going to reintroduce Senate Bill 1577, which is the bill that we brought in 2022, just earlier this year, which provides a holistic approach to the problem of ghost guns. There may be some tweaks to that in light of the federal law, but it looks like generally we think that we can pretty much reintroduce something very close to that bill. So that's a good news as well. So the Oregon law is going to cover both untraceable, unserialized, which is basically the same thing, and undetectable firearms, 3D printed guns. The federal rule doesn't address 3D printed ghost guns, which can be manufactured entirely of plastic and circumvent systems that we rely upon for community safety, like, as I said, metal detectors. The Oregon law regulates manufacture and possession of ghost guns by private individuals, while the federal rule only covers these licensees, these FFLs, remember, federal firearm licensees. So that's a difference, a really important difference. The Oregon law addresses the existing stock of firearms that are already in circulation, not just the sale of new ghost guns and unfinished frames or receivers. Okay. The Oregon law includes strong protections for our state then, regardless of what happens with an expected challenge to the federal rule. As I just noted, it can still be challenged, even though there were thousands of comments and a long, long process, it can still be challenged. And if it were to succeed, or a future administration decides to roll back the federal protections, our law will be there as backup. Just not all that different from what we have as backup with reproductive freedoms here in Oregon. So that's what I wanted to share with you about what ghost guns are, what the federal law currently is going to provide as of August, and where we think we need to go here in Oregon. And I look forward, Lisa, to working with you and to other legislators to get this across the finish line, make sure they understand why it's still important. That's my one worry, is they're going to say, oh, that got taken care of, let's move on. You can't do that.
Well, I will say, Attorney General Rosenblum, I'm hoping we have an in-person Moms Demand Action Advocacy Day in February of 2023, because the moms will make sure all the legislators understand the importance. Yes.
Well, the moms are amazing. Thank you, moms. And by the way, I wanted to make sure I moved my computer so you could see my grandchildren's artwork on the wall, because we care about our kids and our grandkids so much, and we hold them tight, especially at an evening like this.
Great. Thank you. And then the Attorney General is going to make a little ask on my behalf.
Yeah, are you ready? I'm going to flip over to wear a slightly different hat. I'm no longer wearing my legal beagle hat. Now I'm wearing my hat of, hey, you guys, we got important work to do tonight. Obviously, they're substantively, and this is just like Representative Reynolds, she always wants to have a really substantive program. She is all about that. But at the same time, this is an election that is so important. And, you know, she's just not only hit the ground running when she got elected before, but now she kind of had to do that again, because guess what? She has a different district. I used to get to vote for her. I don't even get to vote for her anymore, although I have a wonderful person to vote for. I'm glad for that. But because of redistricting, she has a new district and she has an opponent. So I know that many of you have already given to Lisa, and thank you. And, you know, this is kind of a light touch, soft sell approach tonight, but I do want to urge you, if you can, to give again. And if you haven't, to please give to Dr. Lisa Reynolds for state representative. If you want to give $34 tonight, guess what? District 34 would love that. That would be kind of cool. If you can give more, of course, that's even better, or maybe multiples of 34 would be pretty fun. There is a link in the chat for you to give, I believe. Let's just make sure it's there. And so it's easy to do, or if you can't do it right now, you know how to get onto to her website. But look, she has knocked on so many doors, and you've done it with her. She has made thousands of calls, knocked on thousands of doors, sent out thousands of postcards, and she's going to keep doing it right down to the end. But it does cost. It costs to have the great staff that she does to help her. And, you know, even just a mailing today is not inexpensive. So I know what's involved in that. And I just want to make sure that we realize we can't just stop because it's looking like, yeah, she's going to win. Well, we can't say that, because we've heard about those races that are close. I don't think this is going to be one, but we still have to pay for her campaign and make sure that she doesn't have any kind of debt. Because that's just absolutely not something that you want to start out with. So thanks everybody so much. It's so great to see you all. Thank you for coming on and joining this discussion, hearing from these inspirational young people tonight. And I guess with that, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you. And there's going to be time for a few questions. So if you're able to stay Attorney General, I'd appreciate that. I will also say, you know, I'm all about this grassroots campaign. I won't name names, Dick and Kristen and Jerry, but those of you who have been just like unbelievably here, and I know Maria's here somewhere too, and Amy's actually canvassing for another great candidate tonight. And Doreen has taken over my social media, that you are all very relieved that the quality of the social media went up after I was forced to do it by myself for a little while because of embargo things with media. But in any case, if any of you want to come out and join me, I'm calling it the last weekend. We'll be canvassing. I'm canvassing every day, but we're going to have significant canvasses Saturday and Sunday, and then I'll be canvassing for sure Monday afternoon and Tuesday afternoon. But I do want to say that we have spent so much time knocking doors and identifying supporters, right? People who like Lisa, thanks to your lovely conversations with them. we need to call all those people too, to make sure that they vote. Voter turnout so far has been pretty low. I'm not worried about that. Everyone I talk to is like, oh yeah, I'll vote. But we still have a good week. So it's easy to find out about those canvases. Probably the easiest way is through Facebook or on my website, lisafororegon.com, in my Get Involved page. And you guys can all reach out to me at any time. But we have the most fun canvases in the area. We will have baked goods provided. Sorry, and Christopher's gluten-free. There may not be gluten-free baked goods. Maybe there will be. But anyway, would love to have you join us. We have a blast out there. The conversations have all been positive. I've had friends fly in to canvas with me, and they're all like, wow, these Oregonians are so nice. So we've just had some really great evenings. And I'm sorry, afternoons of canvassing. So there's been a little discussion in the chat about silencers. And Allie, should we unmute you? Do you want to ask your question? I'm asking you can someone unmute Allie King? Hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot, and hopefully she's still here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, no, thanks for taking this question because it was kind of timely. So I work for Congressman Blumenauer and I do casework for him. And today we received a casework request from a constituent who had applied for a gun silencer, and he was wondering why his application was taking so long. So because the congressman is against these silencers, we declined to open a case for him. But I did a little research and I was shocked. I had never heard, I've heard of silencers before, but I just couldn't believe that they were legal. I thought they were just kind of black market things. And I'm just wondering what possible legitimate reason is there for having a gun silencer. But Lisa Hendricks just said that they package them kind of as hearing protection. So maybe that's how they're getting around the fact that there's no legitimate reason to use something like that. Just wondering if anyone has any knowledge of that.
I know we've talked about this in Moms, right? About and with the ATF. Have you had any experience with this, Attorney General?
I have not. I apologize. I'd have to look into it. I'm not aware.
I think it's been a federal issue. So they've packaged it. So, and Lisa, we can unmute Lisa Hendricks too. Can someone unmute? One of my minions.
She should be able to, if she.
Lisa, do you want to add more to that? So I remember this being an issue, and so they say it's for hearing protection.
Yeah, and they named the act like something like Save the Children's Hearing or something that would get people to want to support it, But yeah, they package it for hearing protection. And the whole thing is if you can't hear a gunshot, you can't run for cover. And so the importance of keeping silencers off the street is pretty high.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know that has been, there's a baby. Sorry. Baby.
Where's the baby?
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for bringing your baby.
Sweet.
Oh my gosh, what a happy one. Okay, sorry. It's very hard to. I know you're all with me on this and saying hi to Liam. Thank you for that. There was, and of course, someone reminded us, right, Doreen, the importance of finally confirming an agency head for the ATF, I guess ATFE. We have a great candidate whose name I can't remember. But it's for some reason that's been an agency that has just never been able to get anyone confirmed, which could be part of the reason why gun deaths are now eclipsing motor vehicle deaths. We have a few more minutes tonight, folks. And again, I do want to thank you all for being here, and especially our special guests, Peren and Mia and Shannon, who had to step off, and our amazing Attorney General. How can we get existing guns off the streets? It's so interesting because I think in the gun violence prevention movement, Cheryl, we're supposed to say like, well, I'm not anti-gun, but actually I'm going to tell you, I'm anti-gun. The fact that we know that this being awash in guns does not make America safer. It makes it much more dangerous. So I know and I'll just tell what I know about this, but happy to have other folks jump in too. I know there have been, projects around gun buyback programs. And yes, thank you, Steve. Gun buyback programs. I know that I really think the ultimate goal here is to have a licensure system, that someone needs to pass a test, including a live round test, before they're able to purchase a gun, just like, or, just like you need to pass a driving test before you drive a car. That's a big pipe dream, but we need to say it, and we need to think it, and we need to dream it, and we need to work towards that. Attorney General, any other thoughts on how to get these guns off our streets?
Oh, well, first I was going to say Steve Dettelbach is a friend. He ran for
Oh.
Attorney General in Ohio. He was the U.S. Attorney there. I think there's a really good chance that he will get confirmed. Unfortunately, the last nominee did not, but I think there's good hope for Steve, and that will be a good choice, or it is a good choice. As far as getting guns off the street, oh my goodness. Well, I think that our red flag law is really an important one. It's not going to get a lot of guns off the street, but it's going to get guns away from people who shouldn't have them. We have to elevate that law and take more advantage of it. It is a law that people can use, people who are close to the individuals who we know should not, are dangerous to themselves or others. And I haven't seen the most recent statistics, but I don't think that we are taking a full enough advantage of that law.
Thank you. I don't really want to share the heartbreaking story out of Gresham from yesterday, but those of you, it's a place where the red flag law could have made a big difference and was not implemented. Peren, I'd love to hear from you and what the students are up to and what we can learn from our youth, because God knows we're not doing this well.
I know the main thing that we've been working on this past year, at least at my school, is making our lockdown drills more equitable so that we're not inducing fear among students. I know obviously all of us from an early age are now expected to understand what to do if there is an active shooting situation at school, and that causes a lot of fear for all of us. So I've been working with my district first at the high school, and now we're moving it to the middle school and eventually to the elementary school to create an opt-out program for our students to be able to learn this information in an alternate way with the social worker present and have it more accepting to our mental health. So I think that's the main thing that I've been immersed in. Also making sure that our school resource officers are only in schools where they're absolutely necessary for the community. And that's something that we're trying to work on nationally as well. I think that's the main thing that's coming up right now. I'm not entirely up to date on all of the national things at the moment because AP testing senior year, but yeah.
Parlez-vous français? Peren has an AP test at 7:30 tomorrow in French, if anyone would like to quiz her.
Wow, good luck.
Yeah.
Bonne chance.
Stephanie brought up something interesting, I think, about having to declare guns for homeowners insurance like swimming pools. And, that may already be happening. I will say part of the safe storage bill, this is kind of related, is that if someone accesses a gun from your home because you didn't have it securely stored, you are civilly liable for what happens with that gun. And so the reason why that bill is named for Steve Forsythe and Cindy Ewell is the shooter in Clackamas Town Center, went to his buddy's house one night and the next morning was gone along with a semi-automatic rifle, which he used in the shooting, and had that the gun owner, the friend of the shooter, locked up his guns, that wouldn't have happened. So we are making gun owners liable in that situation. The other story this week in the Trace is about how many guns are being removed or being stolen from cars. So in Oregon, safe storage includes that guns must be locked when they're in motor vehicles. Gun owners would say, well, like the whole car is like a gun safe, and like, no, it's not. It's very easy to break into a car. So little by little, but you're absolutely right. I think your point, Steph, is like, people people need to be held liable, especially if their guns are removed, because they're not stored safely. I did once have my home broken into, and the first thing the police asked me was, did you have a gun in your house? Which I didn't. But that's a prime reason why people break into houses, is to try to recover guns, which then they stolen guns are used at a higher percentage in crimes than being used for, lawful activities. Yes, on average, a gun is stolen from a car every 15 minutes. I will tell you, and this is like a memory I repressed when I was little in my grandfather's car. He went to go to the store, and I'm sitting in the car. I'm 8 years old, and I found a gun in his car. And I was just like, oh, I just put it back. I didn't tell anyone, didn't tell my parents. I don't know what it is about people with guns in their cars that they think it's okay just to leave them willy-nilly. Well, thank you all so much. Thanks for, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am here because of moms. I'm here because of the training, the know-how, the chutzpah, and the community that I formed. I have 100 campaign volunteers that are either friends from moms, friends from Indivisible Oregon, and then a few friends from before I moved to Oregon. I've had childhood friends fly in for the campaign. My college roommate was here this past weekend, and my family has also been very helpful. Hank did FaceTime me today to fill out his ballot. He's in Chicago, so that was really fun. We were really worried we're so worried about the mail that it wasn't going to get to him, but it got to him. So thank you all very much. Would love to see any of you in these next 6 days. To get us over the finish line. Call, email me with any questions or concerns. I'm incredibly grateful for your time this evening. Very grateful to Peren and Mia, and to our amazing Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum. And this is just, we've only just begun. We have a lot more work to do here in Oregon and in the US, and there's nothing we can't do together. So thank you all very much. Thank you also, Doreen and Christopher. Thank you.
Thank you for running, Lisa, and for all you do. You're amazing. Woo!
Thanks so much. Have a great evening. Hi, Aunt Vicky. We can unmute you all. How do we do that?
They should be able to.
I can do it. Hi.
Hi, nice to see you, Vicky. How are you?
I'm good. It's very exciting to be here, be able to support you, even though now I'm a Washingtonian, and that is the weirdest thing to say. How did that happen? And I don't know how. I'm probably going to come back to Oregon sooner than later, to be honest.
Well, you're going to miss us. I call her Aunt Vicky. I call her Aunt Vicky because Vicky is Doreen's auntie. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Christy and Jerry and Scott and I can just stay on we have a campaign update at 7.
It's a different link though. We'll have to switch out. Okay.
Yes. I mean, you can stay, but yes, it's going to be a different link. So yeah. But great. Thank you all. I thought that went great. Doreen, what'd you think?
Fantastic. Wonderful. Amazing.
Yeah. What a great group of people.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay. Doreen was instrumental in doing all this. I didn't give you enough credit.
Stop it. Would you stop it? I need nothing.
She secured Mia and Peren and Joshua and helped me get it all organized and talk me through everything. So very grateful. And then you made that introduction, made me a little choked up.
I didn't even say the good parts I had written. I just, anyway, okay. You got to go to your other meeting.
Yeah. But thank you so much. And thanks for being here, Vicky. I hope to see you. You'll come to Oregon for our Mom's Day, right?
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here half the time for sure.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you all so much. Love you all. See some of you in a few minutes.
Love you.
Thanks, Christopher. Okay.